Why do we take photographs? What do we want to say about the people that we're photographing? My name is Lotta, and today I'm going to talk about how to create a story with your portrait. And we're going to compare the differences and similarities between shooting in a studio and shooting out in the street. In the studio, you have control over your subjects. You can position them, use prompts, angles, props to create stories. In the street, you don't have that kind of control. So instead of creating a story, you have to catch the story. In both scenarios, it's important that you're aware of what's unfolding in front of your lens. If you have models you're directing, see how they're interacting with each other in between prompts. How can you use someone's natural body language to create an authentic portrait? Awareness, noticing, observing, that's particularly important when you have no control over your subjects. When you're searching for stories in an unreliable environment, you have to be flexible and quick, capture moments, expressions, and fleeting glimpses. And you have to accept that sometimes you just miss that perfect shot. For a great street portrait, you need two things: luck and preparation. And I can send you good vibes, but I really can't help you with the luck part. Preparation, on the other hand, I can give you a few tips for that. On the most basic level, what you're doing is a natural light portrait. So you need to understand the basics of how light works. We made a video with all the things you need to know to get started with this type of portraiture. And I highly recommend checking it out if you want to know more about how you can make the most of ambient light. Maybe even more important than when shooting in a studio, your position, literally where you're standing, is a huge consideration for street photography. You don't know beforehand who will be in your photo today, but you do know how they might be framed, so a good practice might be to find a shot, maybe a building, a tree, something that might make a good background. Then you fix your settings and you wait until somebody walks into your frame. This of course only really works in somewhat busy areas, and some photographers spend hours, even days, waiting for that perfect moment. Many of Steve McCurry's images were made using this technique. When you get that perfect portrait in that perfect composition, you could consider it the decisive moment. It is when luck meets preparation, and it is in your power to put yourself in a position where you might experience this. When you direct a scene and you know your subjects, you might be aware of the story you're telling in the moment or even beforehand, and you can take steps to enhance the story with lighting, specific prompts, or even by choosing to use the perfect lens. And while you don't really have control of your story when you're doing street photography, you can gain back some of that control after the shoot. Take a deep look at the photographs you took. Maybe show them to someone else to get their reaction, and see what stories might unfold once you're removed from the scene. Editing, cropping, sequencing, those are really valuable tools to use to enhance the visual effect a photograph can have on the viewer. It can affect which aspect you focus on, and with that, what story the photo tells. Have you tried printing out your photos and arranging them physically? This is a great practice for any photographer, but I feel it's specifically great for street photography as it can really help create a storyline within your series. This is a really big advantage of street photography versus studio photography. Having a smaller set of equipment isn't only possible when shooting outdoors, it might even be preferable. While a studio setting can be minimal, it's easy to acquire lots and lots of equipment and props to help you orchestrate that perfect scenario. It takes a lot of experience and technical skill to shape light and direct people. But street photography is something you can practice with the simplest of tools, because the true skill here lies in awareness, in noticing, and framing. This makes this type of photography more accessible and a bit more flexible, as it usually doesn't require any substantial planning in advance. Thank you so much for watching this video, and check out some of the other many videos we've made about videography, photography, and everything in between.